Okay, friends, you know what time it is. It's a talk show kind of episode. I'm here with Mary and Mary Beth, and when the three of us get together, you already know nothing is off limits. These conversations are real, honest, sometimes uncomfortable, and always needed. We're talking about the stuff women are thinking, but not always saying out loud. Life transition, self-care, mindset shifts, relationships, and what it actually looks like to navigate the messy middle without losing yourself. This isn't expert talk from a pedestal. This is three women having real conversations, sharing real experiences, and reminding you that you're not alone in what you are feeling and going through. So grab your coffee, take a breath, and settle in, because this episode is going to have you feel like you're sitting right here with us. Let's get into it. Welcome back. Welcome back. It is that time again where we are doing a talk show style episode with my girls, Mary and Mary Beth. I'm so excited to be here with you guys today and have this. These are always such really juicy conversations. We start slow and then we just go there. So I like having you here. Do you want to start out with just introducing your guys' selves real fast?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Mary Dibble. I am a wife, a mom of three, a life coach, and the host of Radiant Mom Rising podcast. And I'm really all about helping support moms to reclaim their energy, reclaim their identity, and create lives that they absolutely love and is with ease.
I love it. I'm Mary Beth, the host of the Fierce Framework podcast, and I am a business coach who's all about helping people, especially with ADHD, figuring out how to get through burnout, avoid burnout, create a business that's sustainable for them, and just become more fierce. We focus on messy action, baby steps, and cultivating our confidence.
Love it. I'm Shauna B. I am a mom, a life coach, a adventure seeker, and a host of Release Your Inner Power podcast. And my goal is to help any other woman in any way that I can to help believe in themselves to actually start living their life by design and not in the bed with the covers over their head. And today, which leads me into the topic of today, which is going to be talking about pressure. I want to start about pressure. And what do I mean by that? The pressure that we put on ourselves and the expectations that we put on ourselves of the shoulds and the stories and the things that we're supposed to fulfill, and just what that actually does to us and to our like mental health. And then kind of looking at, what we are actually doing, who we are right now, and not getting stuck way out here in the shoulds and the we should be here and the timing and the blah, 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 of like backing it up and looking at it right now. I don't know about you guys, but I'm friggin' over this pressure shit.
Oh, yes. I'm with it too, girl.
Okay. I am over it. I cannot believe, as women, I'm sure you guys can relate and hear me on this, but as women, the list, freaking roll it out like a red carpet of what the hell we're supposed to be doing or should be doing or how we're supposed to act or look, or I mean, on and on and on and on. And I'm like, I'm so done. I'm so done, but I'm done in a way of that pressure is real and it's hard and it can make things so much freaking worse. It can make it's almost like we're beating ourselves up, but in our heads, and it just tie the anchor onto our waist and try to walk around with that heavy bee on, like it's not doing us any favors. It is not helping us. It is not, it's not helping us live our lives how we actually want to do it with happiness, joy, and space and time and all the things. What do you guys think about when I say expectations, shoulds, and pressure being women?
Well, for me, I feel like this starts from childhood. I mean, think about growing up. That's all we're taught is we're expected to be the good girls. We're expected to behave in school, behave at home, behave in the grocery store. It's like it literally has been instilled in us in our core forever, whether we wanted it or not. And of course, coming into adulthood, it just shows up differently for everybody. But it's ultimately, yeah, we constantly compare ourselves to how everyone else is living, the highlight reels out there, and the way other people are doing it and making it. And we just assume that that's the only way it's going to work. And when it doesn't work for us and the way it works for them, then we beat ourselves up like, well, what's wrong with me? It's me, me, me. We take it personally. And I'm with you on that. It's very exhausting, and actually, all we are doing is hindering ourselves from actually arriving to exact the life that we want. So I think it's a bunch of bull, honestly. Because
Bullshit.
it is bull.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Couldn't have said
Like
it
I said, it's
better
one of the
myself.
things I love working with moms to unravel in their lives and allow themselves to just really be good with who they are, where they're at, and
Mhm.
understanding that their unique path is completely different than anyone else's, and that is actually a good thing, not a bad thing.
Mhm. I love that. I love what you said, Sean, about it's real, and then also what you were saying, Mary, about how like we're indoctrinated into the system because I think one of the things that I want to like make sure we're putting out there is a lot of pressure that we put on ourselves, and like that's what we're talking about today, right? But it's also like I don't want to add on to that pressure by making it sound like we're making this up in our heads and we're doing this to ourselves because it is real societal pressure.
Hmm.
We're taught to be these things and to do these things, that we should do these things. Like that's the way that we're raised. It's not like an idea that
Hmm.
we just came up with out of thin air, right? So if you're feeling this pressure, like I don't want to add on to pressure. They're like, oh, you shouldn't be feeling that. Like you're doing this to yourself. Like you're not. It's like it's real. It comes from all different angles, right? I feel like we're
Yeah.
bombarded a lot of the time. And there are real social consequences when we don't keep up with these standards and when we don't like fall in line and like there are real social consequences. So that's I think that's the biggest thing because it was really powerful to me to realize is like yes, I can control like what I'm doing to myself, and like I didn't create the system, right? So like I don't have to carry that weight too of like thinking that I'm doing this all to myself. um but I also think that's part of why it's so powerful to talk about these things and to be outspoken about and sharing our experiences about how there is another way, because the consequences of not fitting in are basically exclusion from that society or from that community, right? And so I think that's part of why women have so much pressure is because we're responsible for the community, right? We're the ones doing the majority of the child rearing. We're the ones who are typically more um vulnerable in a society. So like we can't be as individualistic as a lot of men can be. So we're even more like reliant on the community. And so we're hurt more when we're not accepted into the community. Sorry, I didn't expect this to be like an anthropology speech. I just got really excited. Um, but that's part of why I think it's so powerful for us to talk about this because now we're creating additional communities where we are accepting women who are choosing to be child free or choosing not to take on typical, mother caretaker roles or like choosing to pursue their dreams instead of like, follow the path that somebody else laid out for them. Um, yeah, I'm just gonna stop there.
I mean, I love this train, so I'm going to add to this. Okay. So I love what you just said. So I'm going to give an example here and I'm going to speak my truth here. So with what you said about how, women are responsible, like as a societal norm, we're responsible for community and all this stuff, and we're more vulnerable and all the things. For me, like that is a pressure that's coming from the outside, but then also being a single mom and having to do all the things
Yeah.
and then being tough enough, you get in this switch mode of I have no other choice. So now I have to do all this. So now I have to be independent, strong. I have to have, this toughness, this no fear, this no whatever,
Mhm.
basically this badassery, thing that's happening. And then I have to fit into that mold.
Mhm.
So then when it's time to be vulnerable and pull back and like do the thing for yourself and not show up for your kids, now you're getting a different societal, well, what's wrong with her? Why does she got to do everything? Why does she
Mhm.
got to, like, why
She's
isn't
so
she asking?
masculine.
Yeah. Like, why is, or like, like I like not asking for, I've done a lot of work with this, but like back in the day, not asking for, help. And then the second that I do have fear, anxiety, worry, or whatever, now I'm weak. Now I'm weak and I can't handle it. So get your shit together, Shauna, because why aren't you able to just like, put your big girl pants on and keep going?
Mhm.
And like pushing things aside. That pressure makes you push it aside. And then now what am I doing? Now I'm in this spiral of tornado of living for everybody else's effing expectations. Like, oh, I need to be this. I need to do this for the community. I can't leave my kids ever and do my stuff because I'm a single parent and I have to do everything. And I don't know if I can ask for
Mhm.
help because then I have to be vulnerable and I'm supposed to be tough because I'm doing all these things. And you're like, woo, woo, woo,
Yeah.
like doing all this. And now you what? Now you feel like a crazy person.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And we forget because we're checking all the boxes and doing all the things. And what's today? I don't remember. I think it's Wednesday. Oh shit. I have a meeting in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff that's happening that's real. And we forget that we have to be like, hit the
Mhm.
freaking pause button. And what do I want? And why am I checking these boxes and living this life at the pace of whoever, whatever story, whether it comes from your family, whether it comes from society, whether it comes from, I don't know, maybe it's a group of friends that do these 5 things all the time and you're like struggling to even get through three and you're like, oh my gosh, because of the exclusion thing. I feel like there's so much care and pressure with things that we like, who cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? Who cares if you have a little bit of fear? Who cares if you only get 3 things and you don't do five? Who cares if you're not making nutritious dinners and blah, blah, blah every single night? Because that's just not friggin' real life. Like, we put so much onto us for this facade, if you will, this look of what we're supposed to be. And for what? Is it for you and your family? Is it for your kids? Like, what is it for? So we can look good to
Mhm.
who? For what? Like,
Yeah.
we are looking for external validation for that. I'm over that. Like
Yeah.
people should love and care about you and be with you because of you. And if you're doing that, that's not you.
Right.
That's you're like 1 foot in yourself and then 1 foot in this is like all this expectation of what you're supposed to frickin' be doing.
Yeah.
So how the hell do you get out of that? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, wow. And this is, I mean, this is where the identity and self-acceptance work and self-trust work is so powerful because that's where it starts. I mean,
Mhm.
you have to learn to really figure that out for yourself. Like, what is it you actually want? And then
Yeah.
really do the work to face the stuff, face the crap. Honestly, in the beginning, it is
Mhm.
facing the crap because there's healing that's involved with you really recognizing and understanding why you are the way you are, why your patterns
Yeah.
are, why your behaviors are the way they are. Because once you can understand that, you get your power back because then you get to be like, I recognize this. I get it. Now I see why when someone says a certain thing, I feel this way or I lash out this way. And
Mhm.
that's very powerful in turning and changing that narrative because you're right. So many of us, so many I'm sure who's listening right now can relate to what we're talking about and feeling that pressure and then, of course, we put that pressure on ourselves because we're our own worst critic, right? That's what we've been taught. So,
Mhm.
therefore, we constantly point out all the things we do wrong rather than focus and celebrating on all the things we're doing right. I
Mhm.
mean, heck, we see that a lot enough within our workplace where it's like you could do all the right things, but the moment you make a mistake, oh, your boss is on you, pointing that out and showing you, oh, you screwed up here, instead of being like, you've been doing an amazing job. But no, you won't hear until you do something wrong. And it's the way it is. And I think we have to find a way to find our own way, like you say, and accept it and learn to embrace it. And I think with age too, I see it more, but I kind of bothers me too. I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of tired of seeing like people waiting until their 50s and 60s to get this.
Yeah.
And I want to help the younger generation to
Uh-huh.
actually stop having to suffer and wait so long to where it takes so much, it's much harder
Mhm.
the older you get. Like we get to do this now. I don't care if you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, like you get to decide who you want to be, how you want to show up, and the hell with anyone else because all you're doing is allowing yourself to attract the right people who are going to love and support you rather than those people who project their discomforts and the fact that they don't have the courage to do what you're doing onto you.
Mm.
Because that's a big part of this as well, is you have all those haters out there because they look at you and they wish they could do what you're doing and they don't. So therefore they want to bring you down to their level.
Real. That's so real, dude.
Yeah.
Um, I love what you said, like about how it's a healing journey too,
Yeah.
because like you were saying, Shauna, like these things we do of like being on guard all the time or like being tough or like not being comfortable asking for help, like no, those aren't the healthiest behaviors, right? Maybe it's a trauma response, right? But it's also like it came from somewhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like you learned that through whatever happened, like somewhere along the way, you learned that, like, oh, this is the best course of action for me. And so we have to unlearn that and learn something else, right? And I think that ties into a lot of what you were saying, Mary, of like when we start being like who we really are, then we start attracting people who like us for who we really are, right? When you're wearing the mask and you're presenting
Mhm.
whatever, then like people who are attracted to that will come to you because that's what you're portraying. But when
Yeah.
you start portraying who you really are, then you have more of an opportunity to resonate with people who care about you for who you really are, right? And then you can start rebuilding and relearning new things, right? Because if I'm connecting, if I'm making like real friends with the real me, then the support is going to look different, right? And maybe
Yeah.
those friends I can actually count on for help and I can actually be vulnerable with. But it's such a journey to like get to that place. And so I want to encourage us, like it's not something that happens overnight, and the fact that you like have these unhealthy reactions or whatever, like it's not unfixable, but it is a process, and that's
Yeah.
okay, right? You're not gonna like wake up overnight and be like
If only.
this totally healthy, like I feel so comfortable being vulnerable and being my raw, authentic self just all the time, and I don't care what anybody thinks now. All of a sudden, I'm just this new person. Like, if that works for you, that's amazing. But in my experience, most of us have like a whole journey and a process. And yeah, and I mean, I don't know if it's ever something we like arrive at, but with it being a process too, like one of the things that I've found encouragement in is that you can start small and you can take like little pieces at a time, right? So
Yeah.
like if I'm feeling like I have to do everything or the world's going to stop turning and everything is going to come crashing down, I can experiment with that a little bit and be like, okay, well, what happens if I miss a load of laundry? What happens if the dishes stay in the sink overnight? What happens if I don't volunteer to organize the office birthday party? And then you kind of give yourself those chances to experience something new where the world doesn't fall apart. And it's like you can start out low risk, right? And it's like, oh my God, the house didn't burn down. I woke up and yeah, there were dirty dishes in the sink, but like the kids were all still alive. And it's like those little baby things. I feel like if like for me, it's been small things that have then led to bigger things as I start realizing like, okay, oh, can I set that down too? Like, oh, I can set that down too. Like, oh, okay. But like it's so hard, I feel like, to start because you don't know what's going to happen. Because what happened in the past was disaster. That's why you're so traumatized. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think starting small has been like the biggest way that I've been able to like work on getting that process started and trying to start making those changes.
And I love what you guys both said. Mary, when you were talking about, what do you really want and finding out what you really want. And for those that may are like, I don't know. Like I literally have the schedule and I just do the schedule because I don't know. I don't feel like you have enough time or whatever, right? Start like as Mary Beth was saying, start small, but also ask yourself questions, be curious.
Mhm.
Ask yourself, I mean, pick something that you want to try to do that you've never even done before. But when you stop and start asking yourself questions and really getting curious and open about what would you actually want, you
Mhm.
start seeing the opportunities or situations that you may not have even because you're just on that hamster wheel, do, next day, next day, next day. And just think about it and start small and pick one little thing. But being open to that and just, I don't know, I guess information gathering and noticing it is where you're going to see the difference. And then I like what you said, Mary Beth, about, you know, maybe your response to like, did you say trauma? You said trauma, and so you're just continuing the pattern. So here we are aging, 20s, 30s, 40s, but we're going to stay with the same response pattern as we did in our early 20s, question mark? Is that what we want to do? Because it might have been a trauma response. Taking control of situations, doing all the things, don't asking for help, all that stuff is very much a trauma response that very well could have fit your life, maybe in your teen years,
Right.
right? Now we're in a different season. I mean, we can take that with us. Is it really serving us, like 15 years later? Because our scenario is completely different. Our life is completely different. But when you run on that hamster wheel, autopilot, check, 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 and you don't take the time to pause and think about it to switch it up, you're still living from this space that you were living when you were 18.
Yeah.
So switching that up and doing something different is how you can get to this, which is by looking at your patterns, by what you were saying, Mary Beth, about, oh, I'm going to put this down and look, the world is not on fire. Oh, good. Like just doing little things that are manageable, because when you're trying to change, you don't just blow your whole world up and I'm going to change all the things. You can't do that. You have to slow it down, look at what you actually can do, taking one small step and being like, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to put this down. I'm going to put this down. Maybe it's 3 different things during an entire week's time. That much weight is shedded off of you. And now you're switching the way you want to do stuff.
I love it.
You know what I mean? Or picking something that you want to add into your life that you know is going to be different. Doing that and focusing on you and how you want to design that will end up having a ripple effect out to your kids, because it's showing that you're breaking the pattern. It's showing that you're breaking the cycle of what you were doing when you were 18 without having a whole long drawn out conversation that no kid wants to listen to their parents talk about, right? You're just leading by example of doing the thing and then trying to do something new, but then like being okay with it. And if you want to call it adventurous, you want to call it, like leading, guiding, whatever, however you want to call it, when you change something, it's going to change something else. Like nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you tweak something to change it and you're designing it for you and you know it's something you want to try, regardless if you like it or don't like it, you're still winning because you're getting information on what direction to move into, what next step to take. And I think that's important to remember. It's not failing because it's not working. It's not working as a win. You're like, oh, this is a no, which means over here is a yes. It's showing you the direction that you're going to. You just got to listen and be open and willing to take the next baby step.
Right.
That helps you shed all that weight off your back.
I do think it's interesting how, like, if we're in the status quo and that's not working, like, we don't consider that a failure because like everybody's doing it or because it's status quo. But it's like when you try something new and that's not working, then all of a sudden it feels different. And it's like, not really. Like what you were doing currently wasn't working anyways. So now you're just, at least you're finding new things that's not it. That's not it. And I totally agree, Sean. I think it is super important to remember that because it can be really defeating, especially if you're just starting out on the journey, right? Or you're asking yourself what you want and you haven't been allowed to, and so you don't even know. Like that can be really defeating and discouraging. So I love that you brought that up because I think it's really important to like, you're new to this, like you're just starting to like give yourself the time of day. Like you're not gonna figure it out all at once, right? And so it's important to allow ourselves to start small, to experiment, like whatever that is. um and I love that you guys brought up too, like, what do you want? Because I think it's so powerful to, when we're switching from like one thing to another, of like just succumbing to all the pressures of society and kind of checking the boxes and like going through life, just going with the flow or whatever we feel like we're supposed to be doing. And then all of a sudden we're like switching it up and going against the tide, going against the current and like trying to figure out where we're headed. I think it's so powerful to have a place like where you're headed or have like something in mind. So you're not just like being a rebel or a contrarian or like, fuck that, I'm not doing this anymore. It's like, okay, that's fine. But also, like, what are you doing then? And I think that, like, for me, and it ties into like, what is your why, right? So, like, knowing what I'm aiming for, like, what I'm trying to do now, or like having something that I'm for and working towards instead of just something I'm against, like all this pressure is bullshit. I don't want the pressure anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Like, fuck it. But also, what do you want then? And like, what is the reason that we're throwing this pressure off? Because that's going to give you like more focus. And then it's also going to give you more of a reason why to keep going and to deal with people's questions or to deal with the consequences of not falling in line anymore. Like, whatever that is, you have like, you're giving yourself a mission of something you're working towards.
Exactly.
It has a
Yeah.
deeper meaning too, right? When you do accomplish the thing, it's way more fulfilling and way more like, heck yeah, I did that, when it comes from a space of figuring out what you want and doing what you just said, what you just talked about.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah. And not feeling forced too, because I feel like so many of us with the whole shoulds, like you say, we like force ourselves to be someone we're not or to do things that we don't really feel good about. Now, don't get me wrong, there's a difference because I do feel like it's always great to get out of your comfort zone because that's a huge one that keeps people from even trying new things. And yet that's where you learn the most about yourself. So definitely always feel that that it's okay to try new things and to test things out. But also, you know, the more you get to know yourself, and this is a big part of, I think, with all of this is like we get so lost in our roles and the hats that we wear that we really lose our identities of who we are and who are the versions of ourselves that we want to be, that it's hard to like really know sometimes like what's right and aligned or you know a match to who we are meant to be or what we're meant to do and what's the outside voices or even the internal voices that are confusing us or telling us actually this is who you should be
Yeah.
in order to succeed. So this is why I think that inner work is so powerful because the more you take time to like know who you are and who you want to be, the clearer you'll hear that intuition that shows you and guides you exactly where you're supposed to go, instead of all the noise that keeps going. So I do, like you guys were talking about as far as like knowing your why. I like Mary Beth, you were saying that is huge. It's a great when you really understand your why and your reasoning for doing what you do, no matter what challenges come up and what happens in life, you can always reflect alone to that why. And that will be a momentum and a motivation, unlike
Yeah.
anything else, to help you keep going in the face of all the conflict and things that may be happening currently in your life. So that's a very powerful way to start right there, is just really understanding why are you wanting to make these changes? Why are you wanting to do like start that business or change jobs, change careers? Like that's a great starting point for sure.
Mhm.
It kind of leads me into what I want to touch on a little bit too about
Yeah.
for the next few minutes that we got here. But like, we keep talking about what we want and like what our why is, but there's a delicate, I'm gonna say the word that like balance. I don't like that word because I feel like that's more pressure on what we need to be doing to make this teeter-totter flat. Because sometimes in life, like you're tottering and there's no teetering. You know what I mean? You're like way down and there's no other side. That's okay. That's what life is about. How I like to think of it as like the ocean. The tide comes in and the tide goes out. And do
Mhm.
you fight against it? No, because the ocean is super powerful, right? You
Yes.
go with the flow. So sometimes you're going to be in and sometimes you're going to be out, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Another important thing to remember with that, the reason why I'm giving this analogy is, what do you need today?
Yeah.
It's not just about what you want and where you want to go, because now you're like, you're going through the weeds and you're like, what's my next thing? I got to do the next step, check the box, do the things because I want to live by design. Because I'm guilty of that. I'm guilty of like, how do I get there faster? How do I be the
Mhm.
person I'm supposed to be faster? How do I get this successful, business, successful life, this happiness faster? When you do that, you can sometimes get in like you're riding the wave, yes, but at the same time you still have to stop and check in and ask yourself what you need, because then you're
Mhm.
overlooking yourself at the same time you're looking for yourself. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's a really slippery slope and it can be tricky because you need to check in with yourself. And those are like the two things that you need to make sure that is clear. What do you need? Which could change by the day. It could change. Morning can be completely different from the nighttime.
Truly. Yeah.
And that's totally fine. I mean, it could be by hours sometimes, depending on what you're going through. And that's fine. as long as you are stopping and frickin' checking in and being like, what do I actually need right now? Do I need to keep pushing through and doing all this to where by the time it's 5 p.m., I can't even make dinner because I'm completely exhausted, decision fatigued, and I'm done? Or am I going to take a break or do something that nurtures myself, like Mary Beth has said in the past, be the house plant and go outside and get some sunshine, or maybe just drink some water? Like, there's some things that we forget to do that can be so fulfilling to what we need that can help us get to where we want.
Yeah.
So much easier. And so, ebb and flow of what that is, and just check in and ask yourself. But trust, this is how you build trust with yourself to where eventually you're not caring about the outside validation because you're constantly validating yourself on what you need and what you want, that this outside like monster, if you will, of like trying to have this external validation gets smaller because you're building your own relationship with your self-trust. Oh, I need to rest, I need to take a nap, and you just do it. You're building that relationship by listening and then doing. And so this whole societal pressure of work-life balance, yes, of course, but it goes deeper than that. You can't just be like work-life balance, work-life balance. What does that even, like where is that? What does that even mean? And okay, work-life balance, what is work? Is it just the job? No. Like, I don't know about you guys, but for me, I have housework. I have housework. I have kids work that I have to help with, mom duties work. And then I have a job, and then I have a business. Like, work is a lot. There's a lot of work in there.
Yeah.
And then life, So like, what does that even mean? Work life. What is that? Because not everybody has a 9 to 5 that they go clock in and clock out. So you have to be really clear on what that actually is. So that's why I'm like, work-life balance, like we got to come up with a different thing. We got to come up with a different thing. And like ebb and flow of days, what you want, and taking those, like, that's what I say, stick a toe in. It's like you're sticking a toe in the water of what do I want to do right now? Or what do I want to, how do I want to be today? We don't need to be like planning out 5 months from now, because in reality, that 5 months could change 4 different times in the 5 months that you have, just by the path that you take.
Yeah.
And so less pressure with the work-life balance, but really where do you look for that? You come back to you and you start asking yourself the questions, but then honoring what you actually need and want. Because yes, there is sometimes where you're gonna have to push a little bit because it's really scary. You might not feel like doing it, or you're like, oh shit, I don't know about this. Yeah, all that is true. But if you're sticking a toe in, it's gonna be like, ooh, you stick a toe in, and then you're like, oh shoot, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
You know? What are your guys' thoughts on work-life balance?
I think that this is where I feel like people need to understand that we all have our own unique path, our own unique lives. Not everyone thing is going to look the same. However, I do believe that you can find a certain sense of balance for your work and life situations. This is where like planning and being real with yourself and figuring out what's good for you and what looks right, what works for you, because what works for you is not going to work for anyone else. And see, again, that's where the whole stop comparing other people's to-do list or feeling jealous because they don't have this much more on their plates that you do. Okay, you do have that. So how can you organize it in a way that you get to still fill your cup up? You get to still pause and do what you need for yourself. You can, I have this one exercise that I do when I get in a state of overwhelm. Where I will just go and get to myself and literally hold my hand on my heart and just breathe and say, I am safe. I am safe. And I breathe until I calm my nervous system down before I respond to that situation. This happened even just recently in a family situation that got out of hand, that it's like I was so proud of myself, because before I would have been like all into it emotionally in a hot mess, but instead I separated myself from it, calmed myself down because it had nothing to do with me, and then allowed myself to just go in and just kind of navigate it in a way that I felt like didn't hurt. I kept my peace while also trying to be there to support others in the process. So it's just that to me though, that's huge, because I've never done that before. Like it just shows my growth on my own journey of what I've been practicing, what I was taught. and
Yeah.
how to handle certain situations because it is so unpredictable. Everyone's to-do list and their roles are all different.
Hmm.
But at the same time, like I said, when it comes to the idea of balance, I just feel like it's okay because it looks different for everyone else, and it's just honoring who you are, where you are, and finding a way to organize it that works for you at the end of the day. That to me is enough of a balance. And then that to me that helps me not put that pressure that it has
Hmm.
to look a certain way in order to
Yeah.
be balanced.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
I also love how your example is like just such a powerful image of how like taking care of yourself benefits other people.
Hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you get swept up in the emotions and you're just part of the shit show too, like you're not helping anybody. But you went and
Yes.
took care of yourself and you were able to show up and support other people. And so I just think that's such a beautiful illustration of like how important it is to take care of ourselves and like get to a place where we're okay.
Yeah.
So love that. Um, yeah, I totally agree with I think we need new wording for work-life balance. I'm sure I don't know the history of it, but I'm sure it's some corporate bullshit. So because like our whole our whole life is our life. Like our
Right.
work is part of our life. And like you were saying, especially when you're a mom, right? Like your kids are part of your life, like your house is part of your like so why are we like comparing and contrasting? Like it's all my life. And so I love what you were saying, Mary, is like my life needs to work for me. And
Hmm.
so my work is part of that. My business is part of that. My kids are part of that. And like that's all my life. And so all of that needs to be working in a way that like works for me. And I think the analogy of the ocean is really powerful. I mean, I'm a little biased against balance as an ADHDer. Like, I don't believe in balance at all. I think it's fake. But also, I mean, being like hyper focused on one thing all the time isn't the way to live your life. Because you do need to like eat and sleep, I guess. But the image of the ocean is so powerful because it's like it's over time as well. Like I think it's totally okay. Like I think it's normal and healthy to have seasons, right? I don't think we're gonna not everything is gonna be perfectly balanced all the time. And I don't think it's supposed to be, right? You're gonna have some seasons when you're more leaning into your family. You're gonna have other seasons when you're just grieving and everything feels like it's falling by the wayside. But you're grieving, which is actually taking care of yourself, right? Because
Yeah.
like you have to in order to be able to heal and move on and whatever. You're gonna have times when like you are really focused on your work and maybe you're really excited about a project and like all of that is okay as long as it's not like one thing for your whole life, right? Like as long as it builds, as long as these seasons are creating a whole life, then amazing, right? Like
Yeah.
it's totally fine to be focused on work for a season, but that's not the only thing you want to do for your entire life. And so, you were talking about the tides and the ocean, and I think that's such a powerful example. And then Mary, too, you were talking about it needs to work for you. And it just made me start thinking about the moon, right? Because we're all women. And I was like, yes. Because also, like, talking about the seasons and the tides and like, the structure of our society in America, especially in corporate, is based on like how men operate, and their cycle, I think, is like a daily cycle, and so like that works for them. Our cycles are not the same, and so your tides like are gonna look different, and your seasons are gonna look different, and that is gonna work out better for you. Actually,
Yeah.
it's like the more we're able to check in with ourselves and realize like figure out what works for us once you give it enough time because you're maybe you're not all balanced in one day, right? But maybe when you look back over 6 months, you're like, oh, things actually did. I had a couple months where I was really focused on the kids. I had a couple months where I was really focused on work. I had a couple months where I was focused on this and that and the other. But when I take a step back and I kind of zoom out, like, yeah,
Yeah.
not that balance is like the ultimate goal, but it's like looking back at last year, looking back at whatever bigger chunk of time outside of a day or a week, you're like, it actually was balanced in a really nice way that like makes me feel like I'm living a complete life as a whole person.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Hi. Sometimes I like to talk about life like in a pie, right? And you separate
Mhm.
everything into the pieces of the pie, and you need a whole pie because you're a whole life.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
can't just focus on one section all the time and forget let the other sections even exist. Otherwise, somebody's eating your pie. Like, right? Like and what I mean by that is like it could be something that just needs a little bit of attention to complete the circle so it's not like broken.
I love that.
And what I mean by broken is not like there's something wrong with you, but like broken as in it needs a little bit more love and attention that may have just been forgotten by the wayside because something else has needed your attention. Like you were saying, seasons and the way that you go through things and the cycles of life. I love that you said that it could be within a few months because that is so freaking true. And that again goes back to the pressure of what we're supposed to be doing and being okay with what is right now, like today, like today. Like if we're running anxiety and worry and all this, we're like way ahead. And then like regretting and blah, blah, and like being depressed and stuff is like things that are coming up in the past. And then now we're just like this messy middle. Or we can just focus on today, right?
Yeah.
And taking that next step.
Oh yeah, just on soaking those little moments too. I had like literally the other day because it's finally hot and I love the warm weather and it was nice sitting outside and feeling the sun on my skin. But it was like that right there. I just remember having a moment like that where I just felt it again, and I just saw like my little boy throwing the ball for the dog, playing fetch in the yard, and it was just like, and I'm listening to music, and it's like in the middle of the day too on a weekday. Like I'm like, how awesome is this? You know what I mean? Like it's early. I don't have, it's just such a random thing to do, and I'm like, you also got to soak in those little moments that it's like, so much is already happening now for you that sometimes we take for granted. That I just don't miss out on those because sometimes that helps to get you back into that gratitude of being like, yeah, I may not have everything I want yet that I'm working towards, but I have so much right now too that I can really be grateful for that could help remind me of why I'm doing what I'm doing and keep me motivated to keep going and just really appreciate how far I've come. So yeah, just want to put that out there.
That's super important.
Yeah.
Well, of course, per usual, we always have really deep and wonderful conversations. Before we wrap it up, is there anything that you guys want to say to include in where they can find you if they want to reach out and chit chat about what they've heard or if anything resonated with them or if they have any questions today?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Instagram is a big place where I'm at. So Mary D Coaching, you can find me there, DM me, message me. If you want to check out my website, Mary Dibble Coaching, feel free. You can always book a free call with me. We can get to know each other better and see if coaching might be right for you. And if not, I love leaving my anyone on that call with some clarity, some guidance, and just some real support to help you know what your next steps are. So I would love to hear from you and just know that I'm always available.
I love that. That's awesome. I also hang out on Instagram quite a bit. I am at the Fierce Framework. I'm also on TikTok under that handle, and that's my podcast as well. So I just want to be here to support you in living a life that you're lit up about, and help throwing off some of those societal pressures. So yeah, absolutely reach out at the Fierce Framework.
And mine is igniteddecisions.com, where I hang out is in Empower Her community, where we take tools like this and we work together with group calls and just have a little group of discussions and thoughts and ideas of tools and tactics you can actually use that are practical today that can help you through this. So if you want more information on that, just go to igniteddecisions.com, or you can listen to Release Your Inner Power podcast, as those episodes also go into details about tools you can use too. So thank you so much, ladies, for this wonderful conversation.
Always.
And we will have another conversation coming up soon, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, learned something new, or got some gems to take away that will boost your week. I release a new episode each week, so make sure to click that follow button to not miss what is coming next. If you love the show or want to share a story, send me a quick message. I love hearing from listeners. If you know someone who needs this episode in their life, go ahead and share it with them. I'm sure they would love you for it. If you are looking to connect more, check out the show notes for all the social links, my website. I would love to hear how this episode helped you and what you loved about it. If there's a topic you want to hear about, send that too. All right, ladies, now is the time to release your inner power. Are you feeling like you're behind or something's off or you've tried to do something new and you just can't get on that wagon? You just keep falling off? Guess what? You're human and life doesn't follow a perfect timeline. Maybe the year didn't start the way that you hoped. Maybe your goals got buried under real life stuff. But here's the truth. You're allowed to begin again anytime you want, whether it's July, September, December, January. Progress doesn't have a deadline. That's why now is the perfect time to join Empower Her. We meet you where you are, help you build momentum, and remind you that you don't have to do this alone. There's still so much time left. Let's make it count together.